Who here likes water? Alright. Well, you should all be very excited about a new development taking place in our very own community here at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. As you all know, along with the love of water, there's an added sense of responsibility to keep our rivers, ponds, and streams clean. We all know how frustrating it is to be driving next to a gorgeous lake and seeing a giant 18-wheeler spewing out pollutants. It's like, hey man, the algae's already going through eutrophication here. I don't think the lake needs any more of your help to lower the dissolved oxygen levels any further. Am I right, guys? Am I right? Well, I've got some great news for you folks. We've got special guests here who have conducted research on this exact topic, and they're here to tell us what they've discovered. So everybody give a round of applause, and please welcome Johnny Depp, President Barack Obama, and soccer legend David Beckham. I'm sorry folks, I made a mistake. Apparently these guests will not be with us tonight, but please welcome Megan, Kelsey, and Jeff. Welcome. Jeff, good to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Kelsey, hello.
Hello.
Megan, how are you? Alright guys, thanks for coming on to the show. It's great to see you guys here. So tell us, what drove you to conduct this experiment?
Well, I was driving along the road one day, and I noticed that Melwood Pond looked kind of gross. The turbidity wasn't very good. It looked very murky and full of algae, and it smelled absolutely disgusting.
Okay.
So this is when I thought that maybe the proximity to the roads had some sort of effect, like whether it was road salts or chemicals from the cars.
Oh, these are very interesting ideas. So did you go and test Melwood Pond right away?
No, not right away. We needed 2 samples from 2 other bodies of water. One that was not close to any traffic, and another as a control. So for this we used Patapsco River and Pigpen Pond.
So we hypothesized that the closer a body of water is to a road, then the lower water quality it will have.
Out of our 3 bodies of water, Melwood Pond was closest to a road, so our prediction was that Melwood Pond would have the worst water quality.
Our independent variable was the 3 bodies of water that we collected the samples from, so Melwood Pond, Pigpen Pond, and Patapsco River, and our dependent variable was the water quality of each sample.
Okay. Well, this is all very interesting stuff, and it makes perfect sense. And we've got some footage here of you guys collecting samples. Let's take a look.
So here we're at Pigpen Pond. Where's Megan?
Oh, she's at Melwood Pond. She's taking water samples there.
Oh, okay. How do we do this again?
We're just going to throw it in, wait till the bubbles stop, and it'll fill with the water for us. We're going to make sure we hold onto the rope when we throw it.
All right, let's do this.
So throughout these experiments, you guys have to stay consistent. What did you use for controls?
Well, we took all the samples within 24 hours of each other, for one.
Also, all the samples were taken with a water sampler with a dissolved oxygen vial in it.
Pigpen Pond itself was used as a control because it's part of SARA, which is a protected area.
And throughout the experiments, we all double-checked each other's work to make sure that we stayed according to the handout.
Okay. Alright, well, we've seen you conduct your experiment. You've got your samples. What exactly were the tests that you conducted?
Well, we tested for 6 major objects: pH, turbidity, conductivity, nitrates, phosphates, and dissolved oxygen.
Alright, so we see that you guys brought in some graphs depicting your results. Let's all take a look.
Our first graph shows our results from the phosphate and nitrate tests we did on our water samples. The Patapsco River water sample showed to have the highest amount of nitrate at 1 ppm, and Pigpen Pond had the lowest at 0. Melwood Pond had the highest amount of phosphate at 0.3 ppm, while Patapsco and Pigpen Pond both had 0.1. None of these differences are drastic enough to depict poor water quality. Our results from the dissolved oxygen test showed that Patapsco had the highest amount of dissolved oxygen at 8.4 ppm, Pigpen Pond at 8.0, and Melwood Pond at 7.3. One possible explanation for Melwood Pond's low dissolved oxygen level could be because of the high amount of algae found in the water. When testing turbidity, our results showed that Melwood Pond had the highest turbidity at 7.7 ppm, Pigpen Pond at 4.4, and Patapsco at 3.1. These results were easy to predict because the Melwood Pond water was the most murky, even to the naked eye. Our results from the pH test showed that Patapsco had the highest pH at 8.44, while Pigpen Pond at 8.14 and Melwood Pond at 7.72. We were surprised at these results because Melwood Pond was closest to having the normal pH of 7 when we thought it would be the furthest. Our last graph shows our results from the conductivity test. Pigpen Pond had the highest conductivity by far at 1,204 microsiemens. Melwood Pond was at the lowest with the conductivity at 208 and Patapsco in the middle at 687. This is significant because Pigpen Pond should be preserved and kept clean for research purposes.
So at the end of the day, what's the deal with the hypothesis? Did you support it? Did you reject it? What did you guys find out?
Well, it appears we had to reject it because all of our data turned out to be pretty inconsistent and inconclusive, really. Because not one body of water showed a low amount across all 6 tests. Each body of water had a specific part that was lower than the others.
So what were some of the errors in your experiments, things that could have gone wrong?
Well, there are a few things wrong in our experiment. Well, one of our group members accidentally poured out some water in the dissolved oxygen test for Patapsco Park. We got stream water instead of pond water from Patapsco too. And there was some possible human error that could have happened when we were doing each test.
So what revisions would you make to the experiments to make them more successful?
Well, one thing that we did was we only took one sample of water from each source. So something we could do next time was possibly take several samples of water from each body that we tested, and then so maybe like one sample once a week from each place for several months, and then get an average value for each test, and then compare those values rather than just the single sample. And that would probably give us some more conclusive data to test.
Okay, well, keeping that in mind, are you guys working on anything else right now?
Actually, we took some samples of water where the inter-county connector is being built right now. And soon, later, we will take some more samples and see how that has affected the water quality.
Alright, well, thank you all for coming into the show. It was very informative, and I'm sure we all learned a lot. And thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again next week.